Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm going to be turning the 5-gallon Marineland aquarium into a nano reef tank that I can take to college.
Flashback.
So here's the 5-gallon Marineland aquarium that I cleaned up a few videos ago. If you don't remember, this used to be a nice lush planted aquarium with some white cloud minnows, but then I decided to clean it and now I just have this empty tank and I decided to turn it into a saltwater tank. But what I need to do right now is get the tank kind of cleaned up. It's just filled up with some fresh water right now and there's still some algae on the glass. There's some mold still at the bottom. The lid's off now. It's a little wet. All right, let me set the tripod. And I just have this algae scraper that I'll throw in. And just go around scraping the algae off. Now that all the algae is out, it's time to drain the tank. Now what I have to do is, there's this black background on the tank. I'm gonna have to take a razor blade and probably cut it right here, and then it should be good to go. Okay, so I just got the tank nice and cleaned. It's nice and shiny. Now what I'm gonna do is mix up a bunch of salt water with all of this distilled water. All right, while the salt water is mixing, thought I'd give you kind of an update and kind of what I'm thinking to do with the saltwater tank. So probably the first thing you might notice is this clownfish is in prison because these two can't get along for some reason. They were getting along for like a year, and then just this past month, they've been fighting a bunch, and Scott the clownfish has been taking a beating. You can see his fins don't look super well, and his lips all swollen, so he's not looking the best. Zed, on the other hand, is looking really nice, but the rest of the tank looks pretty much like a mess and pretty gross. I haven't done a water change in about 3 weeks just because I knew I was going to be changing some stuff up, and I'm going to try and organize some of the corals, or I kind of already have. I already have the ones that I plan on moving over to this tank, but I'm still figuring out what rocks to take, and I need to get some of the sand and move it over there as well. For filtration on this tank, I'm just going to be using this filter, and of course there's going to be a heater, and I don't think I'll need the wave maker back there because this should provide enough flow. But if it doesn't, I'll just go ahead and take the Higer Mini Wave Maker off too. I'm still not really sure if I want to keep any fish in it. If I were to keep any fish, I think it'd be Scott because he's looking pretty rough, and I don't know if I took him to a pet store if he'd survive or not, so I might end up keeping him. So the filter is officially on, and I still have all of the corals just piled up on the sand bed because before I put them all throughout the rock, I want to go ahead and put the light on the tank. And for the light, I have the Kessel A80 Tuna Blue. Just got everything unboxed. Here's the light, and I also went ahead and bought a stand, so hopefully I'm smart enough to figure out how to set this light up. Just finished up setting up the light. It's actually a pretty cool little light. So here's the intensity. This is how you turn it on. This color knob, it changes from blue all the way to white. Anyway, now that the light is on, I can go ahead and put the corals on the rock.
Several days later.
It's been 10 days since I set up the tank, and it's actually looking pretty well. So let me show you guys. So it's been 10 days since I set this tank up, and all of the corals are looking great. I'm actually pretty surprised with how the tank turned out and how well the corals are looking. So for the past 10 days, I've been dosing this coral amino, which is just apparently amino acids. And according to the bottle, it promotes growth and enhances coloration, which I can confirm these corals are looking better than ever. But I'll go ahead and give you guys a quick tank tour. So here's a quick little panorama view so you guys can get a feel of what the tank looks like. Currently, the only inhabitants of this tank are some corals, 2 hermit crabs, and an astrea snail. So up at the top have some Poslepora, some green star polyps, green spotted mushroom, and some xenia. And then moving down, just have some green mushrooms, some more green star polyps, finger leather coral, some acans, more green spotted mushrooms, toadstool leather, and this candy cane coral that fell down, which I just haven't picked up yet. So the rock structure is just 2 rocks that are stacked on top of one another, and then this right here, which the toadstool leather is on. on is another separate rock. But like I said, the tank is looking awesome. And I've been waiting for a little bit of algae to start growing on the sides before I did a water change. And as you can see here in the corner, there's a little bit of algae on the glass. So I think it's time to do a water change. And right after the water change, I'm gonna go ahead and add Scott the clownfish. So I just caught Scott and he's in this little cup and I just got him all acclimated. So it's time to add him to the tank now. I also got this little extra hermit crab. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add him in now. So he's officially in the tank and he's looking pretty nice. As you can tell, this tank gets a lot of sunlight from this window, so hopefully that doesn't affect how much algae grows in it. It probably will, so I might end up having to shut the shade, or I might just not even turn on the light and just let the natural sunlight light the tank. But like I said, he's looking pretty good. Now, a 5-gallon tank is a little bit on the small side for a clownfish, so once Scott gets a little bit bigger, I'll probably end up upgrading this tank to a better size for him. But until then, he'll do just fine in this tank. And what I noticed when he was in the 20-gallon tank is he'd stay in like the same spot. So my guess is he'll find his little spot somewhere in this tank and probably won't even move that far from it. But as for the rest of the tank, I'm planning on doing a water change each week. And typically smaller reef tanks like this are harder to maintain just because it's a smaller volume of water. And with that smaller volume of water, the water parameters are more likely to fluctuate and change. So I need to be really careful about overfeeding, because if I accidentally overfeed, that extra food will turn into nitrate, phosphate, all of that good stuff, and could dramatically affect the tank's overall health just because of that little nitrate and phosphate. So hopefully I'll be able to keep up with the maintenance on this tank. I'm not too worried about keeping Scott alive. He's pretty hardy, but the coral in there, I'm not too sure how they might handle the water parameters fluctuating so much. They should be okay because the majority of the coral I have are easy to keep, soft coral. They should be pretty hardy, but hopefully I'll be able to keep all the coral alive. Also, something weird to think about is by the time you're watching this video, sometime in late August, I'm guessing, I'll actually be in college right now, and all my fish tanks are gonna be gone, which is kind of sad to think about. But yeah, the tank is looking awesome. I'm actually really surprised with how well it's doing and how well it turned out. Let's hope I can keep it like this. But if you guys have any suggestions or tips on how to keep and maintain a nano reef tank like this, please let me know down in the comments. And yeah, that pretty much sums up the tank. Well, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next video.